this video I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I stay motivated for my training, because everyone goes through bad days when the weather's rubbish and you just don't want to get out there and train. So here are my tips that I use to try and stay motivated, focused and tick off those workouts to ensure that I get to race day in good shape and happy that I did everything I could have to be in the best shape possible. So when training for an ultramarathon or any race, and one that's quite far away in the future, it can be difficult to keep that focus and motivation. As I mentioned, if the weather's bad, if you're busy with work, family life, all these different pressures get in the way of your training, it can be really difficult to get yourself out the door and get those training sessions in. And that's particularly true the further you are away from the race. So I find if I've got a race in the near horizon, it's very easy because I'm counting down the weeks. Anyone who's followed my UTMB training, for example, it's a 30-week plan. So thinking about something at the start which was 30 weeks away, it's quite difficult to stay motivated for that. So one of the things that I've done is I've got this photo, and that's from the UTMB course, and that's actually above my alarm clock. So every morning where the alarm goes off, I see that photo. So when the alarm goes off and I have to walk over and turn the alarm off every morning, that is right above it. So that's one of the first things that I see every morning, serving as a reminder of why the alarm's going off when it's still dark, it might be raining outside. I just see that and it reminds me of all that hard work's going to be worth it, because if I get to that point in the race, I know that I am nearly finished. So that's a little tip that I've adopted, and it's been a real benefit to me in some of these cold, wet, dark mornings, getting out and doing a tough interval session, for example. Some of the other tips that I use is I don't look at the whole training plan as a 30-week period. I break it down into build blocks, you might have seen some of those videos, and then look at individual weeks and then individual sessions. So all I need to do is an hour and a half run today, and it's 6 by 5 minutes, only 30 minutes of hard running, for example. That's a lot easier to get my head around than thinking about 30 weeks as a total entity and trying to grasp that concept. It all fits into the bigger picture ultimately, but just looking at individual workouts and ticking them off is a great way, looking at the week and also looking back at what you achieved in the previous week. So if you know that you've done 2 or 3 really good weeks of training, then looking back at that, you can say, well, you know, I've done it before, I can go out and just tick off one more workout, and then I've got a recovery day or an easier day following this tough workout. So that's another tip, is just break it down and look at the smaller elements and the individual workouts, the individual weeks, individual build blocks, rather than the total 30-week, 25-week, whatever your training plan is. Another feature that I use is to have some build races. In triathlon in particular, you have A races, B races and C races. A race for me this year would be UTMB. Last year it was something like Lavaredo and also Kima and the Sweden triathlon. But before Lavaredo, for example, I had 2 other races. I had the Kielder Ultramarathon and I had Ultra Trail Snowdonia 50 miles. And both of those races were build races to get me in shape for Lavaredo. But what was also great about that was the first of those was in April. So rather than focusing on a race I had in June, earlier in the year, I was thinking about a race that I had in a couple of months' time, then in a month's time, rather than one which was 4 or 5 months down the line. And it now allowed me to really focus in the training and the final preparation for the first race of the year. Another tip is to go to somewhere new for a run. So that may be a new route locally, or actually going out, driving somewhere, for example, for your long weekend run, and actually picking a new route and finding somewhere new, because exploring new places is another great motivator, rather than running the same route over and over again. No matter where you live and how amazing the scenery may be, it can get a little repetitive if you're always doing the same section of road or trail day after day. So try and mix things up a bit and have something to look forward to as part of your training, so that you know you've got a special run coming up. You can go and focus on that in a new location and explore somewhere new. Another key way of staying motivated is to have a way of keeping yourself accountable for your training. Now that may be training with other people, it may be a training plan, it may be having a coach, it may just be telling someone that you're going to go out and do that run, and then they will be holding you accountable for that. telling people about the races that you're doing, and then having them know that you're doing it and putting that pressure on you potentially to go out and do those training runs is a fantastic motivator and a way of keeping focused for your training. So those are just a few of the tips that I adopt to make sure that I stay focused and get out the door and get those training runs in when I don't feel like it. I'd love to hear what you use to stay motivated, what tips, techniques you've adopted in the past and what works for you. Please leave a comment down below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. I'll see you next time.